always let me go first? I'm doing something!
Hey! We're recording the podcast! Shut up!
Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is morning somewhere for June 21st, 2024. Nailed it. My name is Bernie Burns, sitting right over there. I'm jealous because she has a cat on her lap. Ashley Burns.
I'm just trying to keep him calm because every time you start the intro, his eyes get really big and he gets real jumpy.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't think
Hi,
about that.
Mush. It's okay.
Mush is, if you hear purring in the mic, it's Mush.
It's me.
Ashley's happy because it's Friday. Happy Friday, everyone. It is Friday. It is the last day of the work week, unless you work on Saturday or Sunday, and then it's not.
Nice qualifier. You know, you should be in marketing for House of the Dragon.
So you sent through a story that The Boys was up as much as...
Yes, I did some Hollywood math, Bernie. I found House of the Dragon season 2 audience drop. That 21% that House of the Dragon fell from season 1 to season 2. They all went to The Boys.
I don't think that's how percentages work,
I'm
but
pretty sure it's definitely how percentages work.
21% can be a quantifiable group of people just sitting there. You are 21%. You people sitting right there.
Exactly how that went.
So Boys is doing well.
Yes, Boys is doing well. This is an article from Variety. It's from an announcement by Amazon that the Boys viewership has grown 21% in the first. Specifically, the studio says the new episodes achieved 21% more viewers in its first 4 days of streaming than season 3's launch in the same amount of time.
So that's like 1/5 of the audience sounds to me like they've started watching since the end of season 3 and they've been binging and now they're catching up.
Or since season 3 started, right? Like they might have been lagging behind, but they're now caught up, ready to go. Could also be Gen V brought in as a different demographic, hard to say. But it is a big jump year on year. Maybe also something to do with them announcing that it's going to end.
Like,
I know there are people who don't watch shows because they're like, I don't want to deal with the cliffhangers. That was me, actually. You know, I've never seen Lost.
Listen, you're going to bring back PTSD.
Oh, there goes the cat.
Drunk Tank podcast listeners.
Yeah, no, I never watched Lost because what I heard about it was people would talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, and then the end of the season would come and everyone would be mad about it because of a cliffhanger, and I was like, it's okay, I'm going to wait it out. I've got other stuff to do. And then everyone went, oh, that ending sucked, and I was like, all right, guess I saved myself a series.
One of Teddy's friends who's staying with us now, he is currently in the middle of watching Game of Thrones. For the first time. He's just watching it and just got through the Red Wedding.
And I mean, how was this spoiled? Like, did he know?
He had to put it down for a little bit, he said, after that.
Okay. So yeah, that was a very impactful.
His favorite character got married, wink, in that scene. So,
I
don't want to
see.
spoil anything for
I
anybody.
see. So yeah, that's going to be a big one.
Yeah. So he's it's interesting to see someone who's like lagging that far behind, but enjoying it very much. And I'm just like nodding along with him going, okay, well, good luck to you.
You just be like, that ended at like season 5.
You know, it's wild. He was talking about it, like what was going on with different characters and Daenerys. It's insane how much of that show she spent not in that show. Like she was in a totally different continent, not associated with anyone else, but a very important part of the story to come.
Yes, like she was having a completely disconnected adventure for, almost the entire series.
It's like one of the longest setups of all time. Wasn't it? Her character.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. A lot of the characters would be, in different parts of Westeros, but they were in Westeros. And they're sending ravens back and forth. She got the occasional assassin popping up to say hello from the main story, I guess. But for the most part, she was like very much in her corner of the world, wreaking havoc over there before she joined the rest of the story.
Yeah. In Game of Thrones, everyone who was in Westeros, there was always a chance they could meet at a crossroads or at an inn or something like that. When I was watching that show, I learned that in medieval times, essentially, fantasy times, that when you're traveling, the second worst thing that can happen to you is you run into someone that you don't know. Anyone you don't know.
And the worst thing
is that you run into someone that you do know. Somebody recognizes you on the road just immediately pull your sword out because it's about to go wrong.
And you're like, look, man, I'm just here for some crusty bread and what is it? Some drippings and crusty bread.
So I was thinking about our conversation we were having yesterday about Just Stop Oil. And apparently there were a lot of links and videos put up in our subreddit, r/morning somewhere, where they busted into an airfield. I don't know if it's a new video and painted.
We talked
more
about that yesterday. That was they broke in to this airfield and painted 2 planes.
Okay, so this was supposedly the Taylor Swift Memorial Airfield or whatever.
It was Stansted, I think. But yeah, they I don't think they got her specific plane, but for some reason she was in all the headlines, I guess, because her plane was maybe there or had been there or something.
There are probably old people in the world that probably think Taylor Swift is a private plane because now somehow Elon Musk got the private plane curse off of him and now it's on Taylor Swift. When people say private plane, everyone goes, oh yeah, Taylor Swift.
It's true.
But I was thinking a lot about it and just thinking about what color do you associate with Just Stop Oil?
Orange.
Orange, right?
Yes.
I do too. I associate the color
like
orange.
Like orange paint, orange, whatever. Orange, glue to glue yourself to a road or whatever it is that they're up to.
For whatever reason, it's orange. And I got to thinking, there was, in the late 90s, there was an anti-tobacco group called Truth, and their color was orange as well. And there was a lot of conspiracies around this anti-tobacco group because they would do protests and they would do a lot of media like PSAs and things like that. And one of the conspiracies around them was that they were so completely unrelatable that they were funded by big tobacco.
They must be.
Right. Like they were sleeper agents, right? Or something. What do they call it? PSYOPs, where they were putting them out there and they were making these completely unrelatable PSAs, turning people off to anti-smoking, right? And they were, from what I recall, they were like one of the first things I ever saw before a movie that wasn't a trailer. Because there was a long period of time where they didn't show ads before movies.
No, and then
they snuck that in on us, actually.
They did add that, and I feel like it's all car stuff. Like, I was not in the market for a car, but I just gone to see the newest Indiana Jones. And you know what? No, I've just gone to see Furiosa, and you know what? I would like a new car.
You know what they don't show before movies anymore, which they got to go back to?
Trailers?
No. Advertisements for the snack bar at the movie theater.
Oh my God. Like in the worst 3D you can possibly imagine. Those were always a really good time. They get their like cinematic. You're like, we're riding a roller coaster made out of film.
Why is the roller coaster the one that everyone remembers? I remember that too. There was a couple different roller coaster ones.
It's probably because it was like one of the things that could make your stomach do the flippy flop that it does at the top of the roller coaster.
Yeah, that was our version of VR. In the 90s. That's all we had.
Watch the concession advertisements.
When you were growing up in Utah, did they ever have those like dome theaters where you would lay on the ground in like amusement parks? Did you ever have one of those?
No, there was there was what is the thing where you look at the stars? There was a planetarium, but you would just, I think, lay back in the seat a little bit and look up, but it wasn't laying out like under a dome under the stars or anything like that.
Austin had a mark of shame. I don't know if you know this or not. It was the largest city in the United States that didn't have a planetarium.
Well, that's because I don't think Texas believes the stars are real.
It was just holes in the dome. That's all it is. But let me read you this from the Wikipedia entry on Truth, or The Truth. Arguably the most recognized media produced for the Truth campaign are its television advertisements. For example, the Truth advertisement 1200 portrays a mass of youth walking up to a major tobacco company building, then suddenly collapsing as if dead, with a single youth remaining standing with a sign that reads, "Tobacco kills 1,200 people a day. Ever think about taking a day off?" That was their big message. So it was all like, hey, kids. It was all like that fellow kids stuff. And I remember people having such a visceral reaction to Truth at the time. And it seems similar to me because, first of all, the color orange is heavily associated with both. And oil is, I think, arguably in the same part of its life cycle that tobacco was then.
Sort of on its way out. Like it is, everyone's got their climate targets. They're going to phase out, regular fuel vehicles theoretically.
There was a conspiracy that they were funded by big tobacco. Mm-hmm. Did I say that?
You mentioned that it seemed like a weird psyop.
And one of the things that fed that conspiracy was that the funding for the media came from something called the Master Settlement Agreement, which was the pool of money that was won from the tobacco companies when something like 48 states sued them. And they just put it together. They had to go to Congress and they put it together in like one big lump lawsuit. And then they settled the money out of that. But then essentially tobacco was funding Truth. So people
Right.
backed
So the
that
money
into
was-
this conspiracy.
That makes sense. It's like they took the money and they put it into anti-tobacco spending, but still the money came from the tobacco industry. Yeah, I can
you can see
why-
where the conspiracy came
I
from.
can see where that feeds a conspiracy.
I don't remember this ad in particular, the 1200 one. But when I read about it, you know what it reminded me of?
Remind me.
Do you remember the protests that they're doing in the movie Nice Guys about the air? When they go when they go try to find the girl? It reminds me very much of that. I love the movie Nice Guys.
If you haven't watched it, do us and do yourself a favor. You know what we should do?
What's that?
We should do a Nice Guys Media Club for Patreon.
That is not a bad idea. For people who haven't seen Nice Guys, what would we talk about though? Because it's just an enjoyable movie, but there's not a lot of stuff to break down in it.
Well, what we could do is a watch along.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a really fun one. It's Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe, and they're both, to me, in very different roles than you normally see them in. And they're almost like an old school buddy cop movie that's just, it's really dark and really, really funny.
Dad, there's like whores here and stuff.
Sweetheart, how many times have I told you, don't say and stuff. Just say, Dad, there are whores here.
You know, it's funny. That's like Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling are not two people I would have thought. If I was like a casting director, there's a lot of good reasons that I'm not, but I wouldn't have been like, you know who we need to get in this together? You know who'd have really like insane chemistry? It's Ryan Gosling and the Gladiator guy.
Right.
Let's do
right,
it. Let's
right.
do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's shocking. I saw an interview
It's incredible.
recently where they were at one of these press conferences, probably at a film festival or something. And Russell Crowe, I guess, is not a formally trained actor in any way whatsoever. And he's just going, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know what the Stanislavski method is. I don't care about it. It's like, doesn't mean anything. And Ryan Gosling just sitting there next to him, just a lifelong actor since he was a kid. It's like trying his best not to laugh, trying and failing miserably. You know, it's just like, you know, it's funny because occasionally you will see an actor in a certain role that is so much different than everything else that they do. And you're like, I wish they would just do more of that. But
Like,
maybe doing
'cause
more of
they're
it
just
would
so
ruin it
fantastic.
too. You know?
Right. Like there
Yeah.
might be like the novelty factor.
Yeah, it becomes like then a shtick, especially comedy stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's you know, it's interesting to me when actors can make a big pivot. Like yesterday we played a drop from Forrest Gump. I think that was yesterday. And it's so interesting when Tom Hanks went from utter goofball, like in Bosom Buddies.
Right. Because he was
a
like big and all that stuff.
Bachelor
right?
Party. Like that was one of his
Oh
early
my God. He
movies.
was in Bachelor Party?
Yeah, he was the lead actor in Bachelor Party.
It has been a very long time since I've seen that, and I don't know that film would hold up today.
And now
all
he's-
I remember is that there was a party and a lady with a donkey.
Now he's in like Green Mile, Castaway. I mean, Forrest Gump was a little mix of comedy and drama, but now I think most people would think of him as a very dramatic actor and not as a funny actor.
In fact, he had do you remember that he had a dystopian sci-fi series that was very, very good?
Fitch, I want to say, or Finch or Fitch. Yeah.
I'm looking it up right now.
It was actually
but-
pretty cool. I think it was a cool take. It was about like he has a bunch of robotic helpers that he's built, and the story of like
Finch.
Yeah, that didn't. I don't think that hit very high on people's radar, but I enjoyed it.
It was very, very good. If you like sci-fi shows and you're looking for something to watch, highly recommend Finch.
It really, though, personified. What's the word I'm looking for here? Anthropomorphized android helpers, though. So obviously, it's a PSA marketing
so
campaign.
really, I was going to say it's a psyop for Roomba.
It is clearly by our AI overlords that are coming. Is there a comedic actor that you would like to see make a switch to drama?
Ooh,
It's kind of harder to go the other way.
Yeah, I
feel like De Niro did that and it wasn't well received. Like they don't like his goofy stuff. And Joe Pesci too.
I do hear that quite a lot of comedic actors do well in drama because comedy requires such a sense of timing.
Yeah.
And whereas with drama, there are a lot of other things that can help to sort of carry the load. But with comedy, so much of it is timing.
I take it back now. I would absolutely love to see like Daniel Day-Lewis come and being like a zany goofball. Like I'm playing like a Mr. Bean character. Or we could have like Javier Bardem, you know, being recast in the Friends reboot or something like that.
Here's a dramatic actor that I need to see in a comedic role is Anthony Starr, the Boys guy. We were talking about the Boys earlier, and he does such a turn as Homelander.
I don't know anything else he's ever been in.
I have trouble imagining him as any other character. I think I would be wildly weirded out to see him. And I think that doing something is going to be important after this show ends in the next season for him to almost like get out from under the role because he's so iconic in it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Didn't we see him in something and he has that kind of secret sauce going for him because he's playing this really iconic, really identifiable character, but he looks dramatically different than the actual character. Like he's not blonde. Anthony Starr.
And I normally see him with facial hair. He does look like a different person. Like
that's great.
Like
I was avoiding, by the way, using the word superpower. That obviously wouldn't fit.
No, but it's a little bit like just wear baseball cap and sunglasses. This is the traditional Marvel disguise is just baseball cap and sunglasses, and no one will recognize you. For guys, you just grow a beard.
Yeah. It helps give you facial contours. It's male contouring. But what else has Anthony Starr been in? You got anything else there?
Well, believe it or not, Bernie, he was in the 2004 comedy hit Without a Paddle.
Was that with Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro? Were they in that?
Recently, he was in Cobweb, The Covenant, American Sausage Standoff, Wish You Were Here, After the Waterfall. These are all films, by the way.
Yeah. And it's not like when he joined the cast of The Boys, it wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't a graphic novel that I think was a big banger. You know, I think this is in the stage where they were adapting almost every graphic novel on the planet into a television series. And if you look at the cast, Carl Urban is definitely the biggest star in the cast, right?
I think he was the one that they would have been like, now starring Carl Urban and other people who have now gone on to have like quite good careers. Jack Quaid is in loads of stuff.
Yeah,
now.
but Jack Quaid was in The Hunger Games. Did you know that?
What?
Yeah, and Donald Sutherland of The Hunger Games passed away yesterday at 88 years old.
Man, that's
talk about that in a second. I have a question for you on that.
Oh, okay, great.
So the cast of The Boys when they first started, probably the two biggest stars in The Boys were Carl Urban and Elizabeth Shue. Those would have been the two biggest stars.
I would also make an argument for the Waterboy, the
Adam Sandler.
No, fishy guy. I'm forgetting his name. Deep, the guy who plays the Deep.
I have no idea. I can't even tell you who the name of the actor is in season 4.
Chase Crawford. He was in, I believe, your favorite show, Bernie. XOXO, Gossip Girl.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I know him from. So it was really weird to see him in this.
I would have missed that one entirely. Yeah. And so, but everyone else, it was really just you talked about casting directors and the difficult job thereof. Someone put together this incredible cast of, I would say, relatively unknown heavyweights that came in and made this a huge success.
I also need to know, you had a question related to Donald Sutherland.
So Donald Sutherland sadly passed away at 88, full life. Even his son, the famous actor Kiefer Sutherland, said, he lived doing what he loved and he died doing what he loved. So he got to do it his whole life.
A full, successful, good life. That's a life well lived.
But it got me thinking because, Donald Sutherland, a lot of people were upset about it, but a person living to 88 is a very full life. He had a very successful career. What do you think? What do you think is the age that qualifies to be a full life? We can end on this.
I mean, I guess it depends very much on the life lived. But I'm going to say if you hit 100, you need a gold medal. My grandma hit 100.
100?
Yeah.
So everyone is
my grandma's like 101, 102.
So
I think
99% of people fall under that mark. Then they don't live a full life.
That's why it's a gold medal.
Okay, but a full life, they had a good long full life.
All right,
it's not a sad tragedy that they passed away too young. Like no one would say, like Donald Sutherland, he left us too early.
80.
Who knows what he would have done for the next 10 years if he lived till 98? Who knows? He could have made the transition to comedy and been in the next Dumb and Dumber.
Let's say 80.
Yeah, 80, I think that's good. I think 80, yeah. 80 I think anyone who dies like under 40, I think it should be a legal requirement to put how they died in their obituary. I still feel that way because you read that and you're like, well, what the hell? And then you hear it's like some rare form of parasite that you can only get in one part of South America. And you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to die from that. I'm okay.
Right. Like that's probably going to be okay.
But like when I hear somebody dying at 80, I'm like, well, they lived a good long life, and it's horrifying too. I bet if we looked up right now, what's the average lifespan?
Well, it varies by country, but according to a quick look at the internet, the average life expectancy in the United States as of 2019 was 78.8 years.
Well, that ain't bad. That's close to our 80 mark, right? That's pretty good.
Yeah, so more recent data indicates in 2022, the life expectancy at birth for the U.S. population was 77.5 years. It actually dropped a lot during the pandemic.
So rest in peace to Donald Sutherland. Okay, actually, before we go really quickly, is there any Donald Sutherland moment from however many credits he has over the course of many decades? Anything that stands out in particular to you?
Oh, well, I mean, most recently is going to be Hunger Games because he was really great in his role in that. But, I remember him from a ton of stuff when I was like a kid. Like Backdraft.
So, Backdraft, really. I don't even remember him being that. He had such a strong presence, and his voice, he had this incredible voice. He had the kind of voice and the kind of actor that it seems like Bill Hader would be the only person who could do an impression of him, like that kind of actor.
Yeah.
But I remember most the Invasion of the Body Snatchers remake from like the late 70s, early 80s. The end of that movie, he has a moment in that is just like burned into my brain. I won't spoil it for you if you haven't seen it, but if you have, I have just ruined your weekend. So. All right, well, that does it for us. Anyone to say thank you to before we head off for the weekend, Ash?
As a matter of fact, yes, I would like to
What a coincidence. How did I guess that?
Matt Ragusa, Dennis Patterson, and the Sunny Devils for sponsoring this episode of Morning Somewhere at patreon.com/Morning Somewhere. Thank you for supporting the show.
All right, and we will have something up on the Patreon this weekend. We haven't quite yet decided what we're doing, but we might do a media night.
I think it's going to be a Q&A this weekend, and then maybe for next weekend we'll put together a media club in the Nice Guys. That would be so much fun.
Okay, so leave your questions for us today. We'll put a post up on the Patreon. Leave your questions, and then we will answer them this weekend on the Patreon. All right, well, thank you very much for joining us this week. We will be back to talk to you on Monday. We hope you'll be here as well.
Bye, everybody.